is just the start.
What's up, y'all? Thanks for stopping by the Obviously Lee Authentic channel. My name's Leah, that's spelled L-E-A and not L-E-A-H. I know I'm late, so if you upset, I understand. But y'all, this summer program is kicking my you-know-what. They lied to me when they told me, we gonna focus on study skills, getting you ready for the next year. Y'all, we be taking pre-tests and post-tests, and like, it be messing with my anxiety because it's like, oh, the school's gonna look at your pre-test and post-test. Now I'm like, oh, so I got to try. I gotta try. So we're about to do reality TV like medleys. So I don't get too far behind. I know I'm behind, but we gonna make it do what it do. For the people who are still here, thank you for rocking with me. I appreciate y'all. Know that. So I'm gonna be looking down at my phone. I ain't even take time. I ain't even get to write in my notebook, y'all. Like, your girl been making study charts. So we just gonna hit the key points and then we gonna keep it pushing. So we're gonna start off. This video is gonna have I'm gonna do all Bravo shows together. So this is gonna be Married to Medicine and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I'm definitely gonna put a timestamp, so if you don't like watching either, you can go to the one either review, you can go to the one you like. So let's get into it. So Married to Medicine, y'all, we gonna hit the key points. Lisa, what is you doing? What is you doing, Lisa? See, Dr. Heavenly be getting on my nerves, but she won't lie about Lisa and her shady practices. So basically, Simone and Cecil are at the house. Side note, Simone and Cecil be having me tickled. When Simone laughs, when Dr. Simone, I laugh too. And it could not be funny to me, but it's the way she laughs that makes me laugh. And then it's Cecil being like, let me get me a drink. They remind me of like friends of my parents. Like cool older people that are down to shoot the, like, talk ish and just kick it, drink some bourbon and listen to old school music and cut up. So I like them. But basically on the news, Lisa Nicole is being like, people are showing disputes about her. So she's not being brought up on charges. She's but basically what the news article or the news special on the show was saying that like people went to Lisa's lab to get test results for the virus. Well, basically people was getting tested in June and wasn't getting their results till October or haven't received their results. So some fraudulent stuff was going on. Although getting tested is free, it's still some fraudulent stuff because people normally need those tests. I know for school, I had to get one before we went to school to get on campus. And then I also had to get one before I went on a trip with my friends. And then I had to get another one for the following semester just to get back on campus. So it's shady. It's some shady business because for everybody else to be like, girl, we can get our results when, like, you get your results honestly within like a couple of days, especially if you do the fast PCR testing. Because I know I had to do two types. I did the rapid response one the first semester of school, and I think I got my results within like 3 to 4 days. And then I did the PCR one, which takes a little bit longer. And that one I think I got within a week. So it's some shakiness. And Lisa was basically saying because they end up doing the like vote, the town hall meeting that Simone wanted them to do, which was basically like, stressing to the Black community how important it was to vote, especially in the previous election, because we was going through a lot. We still going through a lot, but it ain't as bad as it was before. And they were kind of like, Simone was just concerned, would the event be taken seriously because of how shady, like, Elisa is being, since Lisa is the one who took charge of the whole event. So at the event, the ladies ended up having dinner, And, you know, everybody starts questioning her about it. But we're going to get to that because that's at the end. And I got some things to say. So then we can switch over to Anila and Quad. Side note, I'm starting to see like Anila a little bit more on the show. I think she is meshing well with the ladies. But I don't like how she keeps constantly bringing up Toya to everybody. Like, we constantly see her speaking about Toya. It's not so as negative, it's more so of venting, but she's venting to Jackie and she's venting to Quad and she's venting to Dr. Heavenly, but you know Dr. Heavenly and Quad don't really mess with Toya. So if I was Toya, I would be kind of looking at Anila sideways, but I do also understand Anila feeling some type of way because her feelings are hurt because Toya brought her on the show and now Toya is acting wishy-washy and she don't really know where she stands. But I didn't like the whole comment about because Anila was basically taking digs at Toya, saying that and Quad brought it up that Toya might be upset that Anila's house is 14,000 square feet and Toya's house is 9,000 square feet. And then Anila was like, and I'm married to a plastic surgeon. But your plastic surgeon husband, y'all know I love me some Kieran, was just telling you that they lost 90% of their business due to the panorama. So, girl, y'all not making that much money and your basement isn't finished. So he not making that much money in the field that he's doing of plastic surgery. So you trying to throw shots at Eugene is nothing when Eugene has been on the front lines this whole entire time trying to save people's lives. So I ain't really like that. But Anila, like I said, she talked to Dr. Jackie and she talks to Quad. And Dr. Jackie basically said, maybe y'all friendship is just kind of donezo. Like, she was like, for Toya, and Dr. Jackson even said, she was like, I haven't seen Toya this frustrated before. But she was like, basically, maybe you just need to talk to her alone. And Anila was like, well, we tried that. And then Dr. Jackie was like, well, girl, I don't know what to tell you. Just move on. And I was like, yeah. Like, what Dr. Jackie is said was facts in her confessional. Sometimes friendships are only here for a season, for a few, like, you know, a season, or they're lifelong friendships, or they're just friendships that you learn a lesson from. So maybe it is time to, like, move on from the friendship. So then we see Scott and Contessa. Y'all know I don't see it for Contessa. I still don't see it with Contessa because I feel like she being a little manipulative, showing Scott, because I think she knows Scott doesn't like talking about their personal business on the cameras. That's why he's always shutting down. But I will give her that. I was with her when she said that's BS that he been talking to some chick for like 6 to 7 months and that's supposed to be his life coach. That ain't, no ma'am. No man pay him. No man pay him. If I was Contessa, she was way calmer than me because I'd have been like, who this be you talking to? Give me your phone so I can talk to her. So, yeah, that's shady. That's shady. I don't think, if anything, I don't think Scott is having a physical affair, but he might definitely be having an emotional affair because that's weird. That's mad weird. And I felt bad for Contessa when she started crying, but then she immediately cut it off. And I was just kind of like, was you putting on for the cameras? Or like, I don't know. It just like the way she turned it on and turned it off was weird to me. Because she like, he got up and was like, I'm not doing this negative stuff. Like, I just got off of work. And she started crying. And then she cut it off immediately when he walked away. So I was like, was you putting on for the cameras, Contessa? But like, she has a valid point. Like, bro, you told me that like we need to do separate counseling, then we need to do separate counseling. And she even was like, are you gonna be in this with me? Are you out? And I'm like, Sky, like I'm with her, like, bro, like, is you in it or is you not? And she called him the Riddler. And if you don't know who the Riddler is, he is one of Batman's one of the supervillains in Batman. And basically he just speaks in riddles. Like every trap he puts Batman is a riddle. And I guess that's how Contessa feels. She just feels like every time I think we going somewhere, it's a like you just, and I think we're making strides to make our relationship better. You hit me with some type of confusing, like you hit me with a riddle. And she even said it's like talking to a wall. But what I will say is that I noticed with Contessa, and what I noticed with Scott is it's like when Scott wants to be there for Contessa, Contessa's not open. And then when Contessa is trying to be there with Scott, Scott's not open. So it's like they're, like she said, they're disconnected. They're not on the same path. It's like they got to find their way to meet in the middle, or they just need to get a divorce so they can find other people that make them happy. Because there's no reason to constantly be with someone that makes you feel like trash. Like I don't see the point in that. I really don't. So then we get to, like I was talking about earlier, we get to the town hall meeting about voting. It seemed like it was a really good event. Like, I like the way that they did it. I thought the panel idea was good, and I thought it flowed very well. And I also think the ladies asked really good questions. So then we get down to, like I said earlier, Simone had dinner for the ladies. So they're eating dinner, and Simone made the comment where she was like, you know, when we really need each other, we really are a sisterhood. And then Toya like scoffs at it like a sisterhood. And this is where I'm starting to have an issue with Toya. Like, if you don't believe this group is a sisterhood, then girls say that. Stop trying to, like, it's just weird. It's like you're being juvenile. Like, you keep she keeps like pushing that she has an issue with the group, but she's not verbalizing it. And it's like, girl, you're like almost 50 something years old. Like, if you have an issue with this group, man up and just be like, yo, I don't think we're a sisterhood. There's been many times where I don't feel comfortable in this group or safe in this group to share with y'all. And it's just like, that's just how I feel. And let's move on. But her whole, like, her scoffing when Simone said that kind of annoyed me, because I was not even it annoyed me. Because I was like, if you're not going to say what the issue is, then move on. So then Anila kind of makes a face, and everybody else makes a face. They also press Lisa about, like, what the news article and everything. And Lisa basically says that, like, they owned, because let me see what I put in my notes. Okay. Lisa owned, like, the building that was being funded, or the lab that was funding the actual test results, but she didn't own the equipment, which doesn't make sense to me, because even, like, the first place that I went, no, it was the second place I went to. The first place that I got my my virus test done, or the COVID test done, I was they had all their equipment in-house. So that's why it was a rapid response clinic. So they let me know what was up. The other one that I got my test done, where it was a PCR. PCR takes a minute. They shipped my results, I think, to Tennessee, and I'm in Alabama. So I'm like, I got those in a week, and it was sent to another state. So that doesn't make sense. But technically, Lisa was like she was upfront and saying that, like, there's no federal proceedings, that, you know, she got questioned by the I can't remember. I think she said the FFC or something like that. I know it's not the FDA, because that's Food, Drug, and Administration, but I think it is the FFC, and they were being very forthcoming. So technically, she's not in any trouble, but from what it sounds like is that, like, it still was kind of some shaky business. Like Simone said, I'm not gonna say her business is shaky, but it is some crooked stuff going on, because how are you still doing test results, and, like, you own the building, but you don't have the equipment? And Elisa even said, like, they were sending, like, demand letters from their attorneys to the lab to get the test work done, but it wasn't working. So I don't know. It was shaky. Side note, I didn't like Carrie being a part of this, but now I do, because Carrie is smart in the way she stirs up the drama. Because Carrie was the first one to kick off the conversation about what was going on with Lisa, because Carrie was like, Carrie said something to the effect of, like, you know, I'm so surprised that you're here, or I'm just proud of you for being here with everything that's going on. I said, Carrie, you messy, but I like it, because it's like that covert messiness. And so far, Carrie has been the one to kickstart the mess. Low-key, I will accept Carrie being on this season, like on the next season, as a friend of the show, and they can, like, swipe off Lisa, because I ain't feeling Lisa no more. So they surprise the ladies and tell them that they're going to Jekyll Island. I think it's 5 hours away from Atlanta. So they're going there. It's the next day. Everybody's packing and things like that. And they're going to ride down there in the RV. It couldn't be me. My parents want to take an RV trip to cross country to the Grand Canyon. I'm not doing that. I don't want to be on no boat. I don't know. I was saying boat in no car for that long. No, I don't want to do that. But they want to for some reason, and my sister is so down with it. And I'm like, for what? For why? No. But they're in the RV. They having a good time, cracking jokes. They pick up Heavenly. I don't think Anila is on the bus, so I guess Anila's gonna meet the ladies down there. They just having a good time. And then someone brings up the question of like, what is your biggest fear? And Carrie's like dying in the RV and everybody laughs. But then Lisa made it awkward because Lisa says, you know, I'm not a good judge of character and I don't often make good decisions when it comes to friends. So then Simone says, well, you give out what you put in. And so, because it felt very directed to the group. So I was like, why would you say it if you weren't ready to receive the ammo that people were trying to give you? So, it just felt very directed. So then Dr. Heavenly chimes up and she's like, well, I'm not going to say anything. But she was like, your business is very shady. So then they get to arguing. Lisa like, get this bee off my RV. Get this bee off my RV. And then Heavenly's like, I don't have to be in this RV. I could get off this RV. And I hollered when Contessa was like, girl, we in rural Georgia. I said, thank you. Where you gonna get an RV, mate? Where you gonna get an Uber? Because she was like, call me an Uber. I was so with Contessa. I said, girl, you in racist Georgia, in rural Georgia. Who gonna pick you up on the side of the road? Even if you weren't in racist Georgia, no one's picking up someone on the side of the road. That is shaky. That is sketch and shaky, Heavenly. But I was dying because Lisa thought she was doing something when she was like, get this bee off my RV. And I was like, girl, it's not even a nice RV. It's real basic. Because there's some nice RVs. I used to watch this RV show where people used to like, it was kind of like house hunting, but it was RV hunting. So I was like, Lisa, calm your puss, ma'am. Calm your puss. But I think next episode is going to be good. They only have 2 more episodes and it's over. And then we getting into the reunion. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this review. We about to get into, what I'm about to get into? Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, y'all. But yeah, let me know how you feel about Married to Medicine, what you do like, who you like and who you don't like. And let's keep the conversation going in the bottom. Deuces. Hey, y'all. Let's get into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. If you see me looking down, I got my notes on my phone. So, Sutton is tripping. But I'm glad that she redeemed herself a little bit later on in the episode. Because so far, I do like everybody on the cast. I'm not really vibing with Crystal, like I said last episode. But I do think she is needed. I think her youthfulness brings something to the show. And she's very wealthy. I saw the next a clip for the next episode. She got a $95,000 Hermes bag. The bag is ugly to me, but sis just got a $95,000 bag sitting on top of her kitchen table like it's something she got from the local Ross. So I love that part about her. I do also like her personality in the sense of she's not willing to back down. And I enjoy that about her. I don't know. It's something about her because in the beginning, I understood why she had her riff with Sutton. Because we get like, you know what? Let's just get into this episode. So it opens up and like it's the morning. Everybody's like chilling. Garcelle comes down. It's Garcelle, Lisa Rinna. The cook is cooking. You know, the chef is doing her thing. Then we see Crystal come down and we see Erica. So Erica chimes in and she says that, you know, I feel like you've been being ganged upon or been taking a lot of hits. And she was referring to Sutton. And they do a flashback of Sutton just acting basically irrational and sporadic. And then the one thing I do like about Garcelle and Sutton's friendship is that Garcelle sticks up for Sutton and Sutton sticks up for Garcelle. Because Garcelle chimed in and was like, hey, she might be going through a lot. She's moving. And no, it's not an excuse for her behavior. But can't get my words right, y'all. That might be why she's acting the way she is. It's not right, but that really might be the case. And later on, before her and Crystal had that riff, they show Kyle saying, Garcelle is so adorable, and then Crystal chime in being like, was she not before? And Sutton was like, no, she's always like been that way. So they do, to me, seem to have like a really good friendship, because Sutton defends Garcelle and Garcelle defends Sutton. But I do like that Garcelle isn't being that overly protective friend, and she's holding Sutton accountable and not in the way of not upholding her in her antics. Because she's not really speaking out against Sutton, but she is being like, yeah, she tripping a little bit, but giving her space. Basically like what she told Lisa Rinna, like sometimes the best way to help your friend is to just be quiet. So, they're getting ready to get on a boat ride. We do see, before they get on the boat ride, we see Lisa Rinna and Kyle go up to Sutton's room to see how she's doing. And then we see Garcelle and Crystal, going to get coffee. And they seem to be doing good. And Garcelle even was like, just be yourself. Don't even worry about Sutton. Like, eventually y'all will find your way. So then when it's Sutton and Kyle and Lisa Rinna in Sutton's room, Sutton got this purple thing. At first I thought it was a vibrator, and I was like, pause. I was like, I know she's not putting a vibrator on her face, but I guess it's like a roller thing, and she said it calms her down. And I was like, okay, Sutton, that's a lot, but okay, everyone has their own things that helps them calm them down. So I'm not even going to trip, because I'm a person that sometimes I do deal with anxiety. So there's certain things that I do that help me chill out. So I'm not even going to press her about that. But she's in the room, and she's basically like, she's tired of crying. And she even told them she felt left out of the joke, so it made her mad. And then we later on find out when she apologizes to everyone that, she was triggered. She was like, when people leave me out, I feel triggered. And I was like, no one likes to be left out. Especially if you're a person that it has been left out. It's not a good feeling to be left out when you want to just desperately be a part of the group. And then I also kind of found it weird that she took down notes. So she basically said, y'all have been calling me names, and they really have been, because she took down the list. She said, y'all called me ridiculous, paranoid, defensive, too sensitive. They've called her crazy, untrustworthy, manic, unbalanced, and ridiculous. And I kind of made a mental note of that. Y'all, we did get clarification that Sutton's mom is a psychotherapist and her dad committed suicide. And she even said that her mom was a piece of work. So if you think about it, Sutton's mom probably was very critical of her. And that's why I think Sutton likes etiquette so much. I made a comment on someone else's video about it with Erica De Niro. Y'all know I love her channel. And I was saying that, like, I really think Sutton that's why Sutton likes etiquette, because it gives you a template of how everybody's supposed to be. There's seating arrangements, so you don't have to figure out where you have to sit. There's a certain way you talk at the table. You don't bring up certain topics, and I think that makes her feel better, because it's like, okay, if I follow these steps, everybody will like me and I won't make a misstep. And I think that's what happened with Sutton and Crystal, where she didn't know how to deal with the race topic and it made her uncomfortable. And instead of just sitting there and listen, she put her foot in her mouth by trying to shift the conversation to something else. And I really think maybe her mom probably played that. Maybe her mom told her she was being crazy or she was acting a certain way. So that's why she doesn't like when people call her names, because she lets Crystal know that when they're on the boat. So they get on the boat. It's really pretty. Everyone's having a good time. I didn't like how Erica and Dorit were like poking at Sutton, because it's like, y'all are telling her she's being unbalanced and she's being crazy and she's being paranoid. But when she's just sitting by herself and just taking everything all in, y'all are like, oh, she's about to cry, and y'all are like pressing the issue. And had it been me, I'd have been like, I'm straight, I'm looking at the sea, like we on a boat, we not talking about nothing. And that was really her response to them. She was like, do y'all want me to come over there and lay on top of y'all and cry? Like, I'm straight, I'm straight, I'm by myself, I'm being quiet. And my thing is, like, if she's being quiet, then why are y'all picking at her? So then she gets up and her and Crystal have a conversation. And this is when we are find out that like Sutton was just like, I don't like when people call me names. She bring out that roller and I just started laughing. So Crystal a good one for not laughing. But I didn't like Crystal calling Sutton untrustworthy, unbalanced, manic, and yeah, and like I didn't like that. Like, don't diagnose somebody and say that they're manic and then be in your confessionals talking shit. Like, to me, that's one thing. Crystal is passive aggressive, and I don't like passive aggressive people. But the thing about Crystal is, we later find out that she had an issue with Sutton coming to her room. And I got her issue. But my thing is like, if y'all were sitting down on the boat, like in the bottom of the boat talking, then I feel like she should have laid everything out on the table. Because if she's telling you, I don't like when people call me crazy, you're calling her unbalanced and you're calling her manic, I think you should have just been upfront about the whole her walking in your room thing. So it's like you're holding on to stuff and making it an issue, when if you really had an issue, because Kyle brought up some good points, then you should have told everybody, because you waited 24 hours just to bring up the issue. So that's where I'm like, Crystal, you being passive aggressive. Like, if you got a problem, say you got a problem. So they seem to work everything out. Sutton says, she's freaking out about moving. And I think, like Crystal said, that's not a reason for you to be like a wackadoo with people. And I think it's more to it. I think maybe Sutton is like losing that home really means it's an ending chapter of her life. And maybe she thought she was like done, but she really wasn't. Or maybe it just makes it more real that like, that life I once had being a homemaker and a wife and a happy family is over now. And she just doesn't know how to deal. But yeah, they get back home. Everyone gets ready for dinner. The chef made donuts. Them donuts looked good. Them donuts look really good. So, everyone's chilling. They're all getting ready. Crystal doesn't come to dinner. She says that I guess she's overwhelmed and like stressed out. Which I'm like, if Crystal can have an overwhelming moment and tell y'all she's freaking out, how come Sutton can't have that? But that's just me. That's just me. So they're sitting at the table. Sutton decides to apologize to everyone, which I think she should have. But before they had that, they talked about, Kyle brings up like her stitches in her nose, like tickling her. And like and then Garcelle asked like, have any of you guys, what's it called? Got any nose jobs? And production is shady AF. Production is shady AF because they bring up Dorit's pictures because Dorit says she ain't had no work done. And it definitely looks different, but it was a picture from 1995. And I'm about to Google how old Dorit is because it looked like a high school picture. So I'm kind of like, and it still looked like she had baby fat. So I was just kind of like, are y'all sure? Let's see. Because I'm like, I feel like it was a baby picture for them to be like, girl, she looked. So Dorit was born in July 1976. So let's see. Let me do the math. Let's do the math. 1976 minus 1995. So she was 19. I do believe Dorit got work done. But like the picture that they used was not a good picture in my opinion. Because she was 19. She still had baby fat. So no. But I do believe she got work done. But production is shady. So they all sit down and like that's when Sutton apologized. And then this is where things take a shift where I can't with Lisa Rinna. So they bring up the Denise thing again. And this time, I don't think Garcelle brought it up. Lisa brought it up because she was talking about enjoying everybody and like, building on their friendships because of all the stuff going on with what we all still going on with, and she brings up being called an untrustworthy friend. So this is where I was like, okay, cool. But Lisa made an analogy where she brought up Harry Hamlin, her husband, and how his friend sexually assaulted a young girl and went to jail for it, and how all his friends were like, we should be there for him, and Harry couldn't do it. And I was with Dorit was me because Dorit's eyes was like, girl. And then Sutton and Kyle was like, and, and Garcelle was like, don't ever tell this story again because this is not a good analogy. And I was with Garcelle. What you did to Denise is not the same equivalent as what Harry chose to do in reference to his friend. And side note, what if he didn't want that story out? Like, did you ask Harry, like, can I talk about this? Because that's a serious topic to bring up, that type of topic at a dinner table. Low-key, I hate when people say trigger warning, but I think it's important to say it. Like, especially if you're, I get it, trigger warning when you're online, because, you know, people might come across it. But if you're at a dinner table, I don't normally, it's kind of awkward when people say it. But in this instance, she should have preferenced the story like trigger warning, because the conversation was not, that was not a flow into a story about someone being assaulted. That is not from you being a bad friend to Denise. Granted, I knew Denise was lying last season. Like, it was annoying, and the way she was going about it annoyed me about Denise. Preferably, I thought Denise was on something. I thought she was on that Hannah Montana, that Justin Bieber, that what's her name, that Taylor Swift, because she was giving, her and her man were giving real powder teas for me. But I was with Garcelle when she said, if you're her friends for 20 years, all you had to do was sit back and be quiet. Lisa Rinna and her whole thing about forcing people to be transparent and open is abusive, because if someone doesn't want to be open with you and you are constantly like pushing them, and then you're putting them in situations where you know they're not going to be comfortable just so you could get a reaction that you're looking for, that's manipulative and it's messed up. So you have to work on that. And I get Lisa being like, you know, I'm going to own it. It's like, the way Lisa says she's going to own it is also manipulative, because it's like you jump the gun in owning it because you know you messed up, but then you want everybody to kind of just like push it to the side, because it's like, you know, I already said sorry, so deal with it. And things don't work that way. So then they finish eating dinner. They're all playing games downstairs. Garcelle and them are doing Jenga, and then you have Sutton and Lisa in the pool. So then everybody else is going to bed, and then Crystal comes out, and Erica and her are chit-chatting, and she's saying that she was overwhelmed and felt lonely. So then this is when I said Crystal was being passive-aggressive and kind of, I think, just holding on to something. So Crystal was uncomfortable when Sutton came into her room. And they flash back. And granted, Sutton didn't wait long enough. Sutton knocked on the door and then immediately opened it. She didn't knock on the door and be like, hey, can I come in? Or wait to be called in. And Crystal was putting on her pajamas. Well, when Sutton walked in, Crystal says she dropped down to like cover herself. So she felt like her boundaries were violated. Sutton wasn't even in her room that long because they showed the clip. She was like, ooh, I don't know what you're doing in here. I think she was trying to be funny because it was an awkward situation. And she was trying to put her coat down. And then she, you know, was like out. She didn't stay in there. She wasn't gawking at her or anything. But I was with Kyle when she was like, this happened 24 hours ago, and now all of a sudden you bringing this up. And then Crystal was like, well, I didn't want to trigger her. And I'm like, okay, so this is my thing. that annoys me about this situation. When they were talking on the boat, you should have told her right then and there, I was uncomfortable. It made me feel weird. But for you to wait till nighttime when everybody's chilling, she apologized and everything, I don't know, you messing up the vibe now. So, but I understand, like, if she felt uncomfortable, she had every right to feel uncomfortable and voice her opinions and her feelings about feeling uncomfortable. So it's the next day, and Sutton comes in her room and they have a conversation about it. And then all of a sudden Crystal starts crying. So Crystal started acting like Sutton to me, because it wasn't really a reason for you to cry, other than I thought maybe something like something traumatic happened to her. So I was like, are you crying because she kept saying, I felt like my boundaries were violated. So I'm like, did someone do that? Did someone do something they had no business and no right to you? Or are you just putting on to get payback at Sutton to make her seem like the evil white lady, because she been acting like a wackanut this whole entire time. And Lake Tahoe. But then I was happy that Sutton apologized. She was like, it was awkward, my bad. And she was like, I hope we can mend fences and, work it out. I really do think that they had misunderstandings. And I just think that Sutton didn't deal with it the right way. And I think Crystal's personality is very, I don't want to say it's very straightforward. I think sometimes Crystal can be straightforward, but she can also be passive aggressive. Because I don't get why you held on to that information about being uncomfortable and feeling spastic out, and it had been 24 hours. Like, I feel like she should have talked to her on the boat when they were having that talk. So then we get to them being back in LA, and this is when we get the news about Erica and Mr. Girardi, like Erica filing for divorce. So she sent the ladies this text, and basically it reads, hold up, y'all. Cancel. Ladies, I truly consider you my close friends, and this is why I'm reaching out to tell you that I filed for divorce this morning. Thank you for supporting me. This will be tough. And I call BS, but I think Erica, this whole time they've been in Lake Tahoe, has been dropping hints as to there being something, a myth in her life, because this is the most she has ever brung up Tom, and no one has asked her about Tom. She talked about Tom this episode. She talked about Tom the episode before. She even talked about the people who are fugitives or who just got out of prison, living in that certain area when they were going to that railroad thing. And then when her and Garcelle were talking, she brought up the whole thing about, everyone's life is smoke and mirrors. You never really know what's going on. So I'm like, I think Erica has been trying to soften the blow of so my man might be going to jail and I might be going along with him, and I might be poor in a couple of months. So bear with me, ladies. And I'm like, okay. So I'm excited to see where we gonna go, how the ladies are gonna react to it. They are definitely going to give her more grace than they gave Denise, because Lisa Rinna already started making up excuses for Erica about the way she texted them and not physically telling them to their face about the divorce. But I'm down for it. I'm down for the shenanery. I'm enjoying this season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills so far. I hope you are too. But yeah, drop down in the comments below. Let me know how you feeling. Let me know your thoughts about the Sutton situation. I think it's just been misunderstandings. I know other people are feeling like Sutton is being a Karen, but let me know. So remember to be bravely authentic, and I'm out, y'all. Deuces.